Hello and welcome to today's edition of Velocity Kinetics. Today it's quite an odd version, really. I'm in the middle of editing about two different videos at the moment for the channel, and an important piece of news has sprung up in the middle of all this that has made those take a backseat. I've been chatting on and off with it about it with Russ today as well. It's quite shocking. It's news that McLaren find themselves in some extremely dire financial straits. They reckon by the middle of July they could potentially be in liquidation. That is quite astounding, especially given a team like my precious Williams have been so publicly suffering financially, and that suffering pouring out onto the track. It's important not to play the blame game with what's happened at McLaren, because the payout, you could easily say the payout of Ron Dennis has caused this. You could say the split from Honda has caused this. You could say that the way that their culture has been portrayed into the media recently is what's caused it. Whilst I'm not the biggest McLaren fan, you have to respect their longevity on the grid, their technological prowess, and, well, for me at least, you've got to respect just how much they've put British engineering on the map, and the fact that the McLaren name is still attached to World Championships. Well, it'll always be attached to World Championships, in both in terms of drivers and constructors. It's attached to some of the most famous drivers of the sport, like Ayrton, Alain Prost, James Hunt, Niki Lauda, Keke Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Mika Hakkinen, Kimi Räikkönen, you name it. There are so many amazing drivers who've been associated with the team over the years. The McLaren brand itself, they've made some amazing road cars. I tend to lean more towards Lamborghini in the supercar stakes. If you say, for instance, if you're comparing an MP412C versus a 430 versus a Gallardo, I would lean towards the Lamborghini. But the MP412C was a fantastic car, and everything that's followed, the 570, the 600, the 600 LT, the 620, the 650, the 720, the Senna, the P1. The P1 is a technological marvel, much like its LaFerrari and Porsche 918 counterparts. McLaren, as far as I'm aware, also still hold the world record for the fastest naturally aspirated car in the world. That record was set in 1994, if I remember rightly, 240 miles an hour, 241 miles an hour, and they still hold the record. No one has beaten it. Some have gotten close. Forced inductions overtaken it. For instance, Koenigsegg overtook it. Hennessy overtook it. Bugatti overtook it. It's incredible. And to see a team, especially a team with such, let's say, road car pedigree, racing car, Formula One pedigree, IndyCar pedigree, GT pedigree, to see a team like that potentially have to shutter is insane. Now, you could potentially say it is, if you went and got your tinfoil helmet, you could maybe say it's some smart marketing, as in get the team into the headlines, steal some headlines away from the likes of Williams, who need the help, get some investors before they invest in Williams, and secure their position. Like I said, it's quite an extreme example. You need your tinfoil helmet if you're going to sling that one around. But again, I guess it's possible. I mean, UK voted a documented racist and liar into leadership, so it's possible. So what does it mean from here? Well, McLaren have tried to seek a High Court injunction to let them use the Heritage Collection as collateral for for funding. Makes me question what Williams had to go through, or whether Williams didn't have to go through it. So this either means that McLaren's already mortgaged up to the hilt, or the Williams collection is just not as historically important. It's a tough one to argue, because the Williams cars, there are some fantastic cars in their heritage, like FW34, FW08, FW08B, FW18, FW16 if they've got any of them left, FW36. They've got some amazing cars in their collection, but they haven't got the likes of MP44. Was it 44? Was it 45? I think it's MP44. The one that, the 1988 car, the Ayrton Senna car. The classic Marlboro logo with the Honda logo slapped on the side, and Hugo Boss as well. It's hard to argue which one is more important, or whether it's just because McLaren's been around longer. Maybe they require, because of more historical significance, should we say, maybe they require the High Court injunction to do so. They've also approached the International Bank of Bahrain for a loan of 150 million, which doesn't seem enough to sustain the team. But we don't know quite what's going to happen, because the team will get some income from IndyCar, or should get some prize money from IndyCar at the end of the year. Plus, however well they do. Now, given the upward trend and trajectory that McLaren found themselves on at the end of last year, they might very well continue that upward trend and start to bother the top three. That said, Racing India, Force Point, Racing Martin, Indian Racing Martin, that made some amazing progress over testing and might very well become a thorn in the side of everyone at the front. And the Honda and the Red Bull looked incredibly strong in testing, so it might be business as usual, it might not. Valtteri is looking strong, but I digress. That's a completely different point. We need to stick on McLaren. They're going to have a little bit of instability, in the sense of they're losing Sainz at the end of this season, gaining Ricciardo. However, Ricciardo has changed teams before. He knows what to do to get the best out of things. He's been on McLaren's radar before. I think that is Russ messaging me again. Yes, it is actually. Let me see what he says, because we've been debating what's going on with McLaren, because McLaren itself, it seems to be made up of the F1 arm, the automotive arm, and advanced engineering. McLaren make a lot of things for other series, like for instance they make part of the ECU for Formula E. They make parts of the black boxes for the Formula 1 cars. So there's a lot of their tech in the world. Yeah, sorry, that's just Russ is going on about Indy and ECUs. I'll need to read his reply a little bit more detail in a few minutes. But McLaren itself finds itself on a knife edge, and it's hard to know what to do. Their working practices came out very publicly during their Honda time. The reviews on Glassdoor, last I looked, were not very favourable towards the company. You've got senior management hot desking. Anyone who follows this channel who works in a call centre will know how fucking annoying it is to do hot desking. It is the scourge of the workplace, and management having to hot desk, whew, good grief. And then it seemed at one point they were just full of management. They had far too many chiefs and not enough Indians. It was bananas. And then them claiming they've got the best chassis in F1, and then to stick a Renault engine in the back and not actually go very fast with it, sort of highlighted a lot of their problems. But then again, you could make a similar argument. Williams keeps saying, we're going to be better this year, going to be better this year, going to be better this year. No, we weren't. So it's hard to know what the right step is for McLaren, what will happen. I hope we don't lose them. I don't want to lose Williams either. Someone on trying to think what it was I was watching. I think it was Mark Priestley's video, F1 Elvis. He was doing his news roundup for things he found on an app called Seedstream. I actually want to download and have a look into it, to be honest, because it seems very interesting. But I just completely lost my train of thought. Where was I? Found the train. There were some passengers on it. Makes a change. Usually I had lose my train of thought, but it wasn't important because there were no passengers anyway. Anyway, someone I think on his video commented the exact wording. I can't remember the exact wording of the comment, but it was to the effect of, "Say it with me, everyone. McLaren Williams Racing, or William McLaren Racing." It's not a million miles out of possibility. It's not something that is just completely impossible to happen, especially given what's gone on this year in 2020 and what's happened to me in my personal life this last week, and how, well, it's been bad event after bad event, almost comical in many ways. You've got to laugh, but it's one of these things like, you know what? It probably wouldn't be possible to have a Williams McLaren Racing tie-up and then for Sir Frank Williams to stand up and go, "I was faking all the time. Thank you." That would not surprise me. Not that I think Sir Frank's faking at all, but you know what I mean. It's such the crazy shit that's gone on this year. In some ways, it lines up with the crazy shit that's gone on this year. What else could happen? McLaren are going tits up. What seemed like a very good fiscal decision at the start of COVID and lockdown, being one of the first teams to announce furlough and driver pay cuts and so on and so forth, and factory closure, I'm beginning to wonder, was it actually just a good decision on their part, and this just happens to have gone wrong for them at the same time, or was there a bigger problem in the works in the first place, and it's just made them be able to hide what was going on for a little bit longer? Who knows? Also quite curious as how it's suddenly come out of nowhere. But who knows? I really hope that McLaren don't go belly up. The road car division, I blow hot and cold. Let's say they make some brilliant vehicles, and I would love to have a thrash around in one for Velocity Kinetics. I really would love to do that, or particularly a P1 for the technological marvel it is. Probably need to baby step in with a smaller McLaren, but you know, the road car division itself, it's not exactly a priority, but there was a video, and if I can find the video again, I will share it onto the page. He's an automotive journalist. A couple of friends of his bought McLarens, and it was about how they had problem after problem after problem with the McLarens. And essentially what he said in it is a lot of McLaren cars, dealerships, have cars built for stock, not built to order. So whilst you can order your custom McLaren, they keep a lot on site on the various dealerships to be able to get them out the door, which in many ways is fine. But that said, McLaren sometimes have not had the greatest, at least in their current form of road cars, have not had the greatest of reputations for build quality. So that may not have helped them. And what's even more concerning is because obviously with lockdown, a lot of dealerships, not just supercar, but like even the likes of your Suzuki, your Mini, your BMW dealerships, they'll have all been closed because of this, aside from for things for key workers. They'll have stock that they need to sell, and need to sell fast, and need to sell cheap. Because they'll have things that are, especially we're rapidly approaching the change of plate in the UK. In the UK, number plates change on the 1st of January, 1st of September. So it's 20 at the moment. I'm not sure what number it's going to go on to. Maybe I can't go on to 21. But for instance, when I bought my car, it's 68 plate because it was bought after the 1st of September and registered after the 1st of September. If I'd bought it before the 1st of September in 2018, so between the 1st of March and the 31st of August, it would have been an 18 plate, hence why my first Baleno was a 17 and this one's a 68. But anyway, McLaren will have a lot of stock, much like any other dealer, that needs to be got rid of. But because it's a supercar, they might have to sell it at potentially, not necessarily at a loss, but not the price they want. But it'll be income, but not the income they want. We'll have to see what happens. I hope they don't have to lay off too many staff. It's cruel as to what's happened with what's happened with COVID, that not just looking at the wider picture. I'm very fortunate in the sense I was classed as a key worker, but I was able to work from home with working for a bank. But it's cruel how many people have had to lose their jobs, been furloughed, just don't know what's going on. The number of customers I've spoken to over the phone and on live chat, it's been horrible. And I just hope that hopefully this is the end of COVID. Well, endish, as in as much of an end as it's going to be. But I just hope that would be a monumental kick in the teeth for this McLaren staff to go through all this, come back, and then to be like, yeah, soz mate. That'll probably be what it feels like. But we're rooting for you, McLaren. Hopefully you can get yourself back on your feet. We'll keep an eye on things on our page, and we'll post what we find out. If we find out anything like that, I'll find that other video and I'll post it about what's going on about the experience someone's had about owning McLaren. But until then, look after yourselves. I posted on the Facebook page earlier today, second post actually, of the Don't Be a Muppet image, and I stand by that image. Whilst I don't have permission to use the Muppet vector, I'm not claiming any rights or ownership over it. But just please remember, whether you're walking, whether you're driving, cycling, whatever it is you're doing, please be mindful of what's going on around you. This weather in the UK at the moment, it is beyond gorgeous, especially with how many weeks of just black skies and tipping down with rain it has been. And especially if you've been fortunate enough not to have any sort of interaction with COVID, as in whether you've not been ill with it or had family members who have been ill with it or had to shield, please don't let your stupidity, your brief lapse in concentration, that brief 2 seconds of stupidity when you've decided to cross the road without looking, to merge into traffic without looking, don't let that end what has been a horrible, horrible year for you. But look after yourselves, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.